Okay, so it's, closing time. And, I think the world's just getting crazier by the minute. We don't have people who vote for people on policy. It's just saying that they're great and they're going to make the U.S. great. We have stabbing people, and we have people who want pot all around all the time and not be prosecuted for it. There's a number of pot out there right now. I can't go around my own neighborhood without smelling it. And, these people don't want to smell it at home because family members don't like them doing it or don't want them to do it. And, it's going to be a tough decision. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Bye now. Okay, Hillary Clinton came out today, and I think she was talking to backers or supporters. Let me change this a bit. And she pretty well said that the FBI ruined the election. And I think she's right. This whole election was manipulative on both sides. It was ridiculous. I've said in the past that they should have more than two parties. Now, they don't need 6 or 7, but at least 2 or 3, so that people who don't trust one candidate or the other can have another option. But I would really like the parties in the next election, and it's just as bad up here in Canada, but that they talk about the policies. And instead of doing character assassination. And, I think Donald Trump went off and started calling people names, and it just went down from there. I think people have to be more respectful in politics. No one's going to want to go into politics if all they're going to do is get crucified. Now, the Republicans are probably calling this, oh yes, it was just Hillary bashing. It was just how the timely time that it came out. That's garbage. Hillary could have been a great president. However, it was rigged. And Donald Trump kept saying, this election is rigged. Oh, it's a rigged system. Oh. But I think somehow he rigged the system. He made it so she couldn't win, which is the whole thing of politics. But I think we have to take into effect that people need to choose someone who will do the job. Now, right now, Donald Trump, we don't know what his policies are going to be. It's build this wall. And I think the American people and even the Canadian people need to have better understanding of who they're running against. Not to just take, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to take this one, this person's going to win or whatever. But talk about the policies. Now, I don't think on either side the policies were talked about. And it was all the media's manipulating Trump, and it's all on Hillary's side. I don't think that's the case, but there was an awful lot of negative publicity for Trump and for her. But on the other side, there was a lot of positive things coming out at the beginning when he was in the primaries about Trump, but then Trump started to attack people. And if that's the way he does business, the rest of the world, just give him what he wants because, he's just going to call you names and get what he wants anyway. Now, there's movements where states are trying to free up their electoral votes, so the people there don't necessarily have to go and vote for him. Now, really, if that happens, then it is going to be rigged because then you're sort of just changing the rules. And there was one, I think it was Maine, that came out and suggested this. And I think, you know what? You can't sort of come in now and change the rules. If you wanted to do that, it should have been done before the whole political season played out. And it's unfair for candidates now who played by the rules, and unfortunately he won. But I think I mentioned this in yesterday's blog, how people are still so divided. And there was one video I saw on Facebook where a guy said the wolves are out in the jungle now, or in the forest, I think he said. And, you left-wing slobs are going to have to watch it. How is he going to bring the country together? I'm not an American, and I'm glad. He really won't have control over me unless our government says, oh, well, yes, we'll give you everything you want. And I think we have to stop this. I think we have to come up with an electoral system where the issues are discussed. Now, our last election here in Canada, it was totally this person over that person, and this person isn't ready. And it was just dirty politics. And aren't we evolved enough now to get out of dirty politics? Now, last election before, where the Conservatives got in for their last term, that was the technique used. And I think we have to stop playing around and start moving and keeping things level. Hillary's going to raise taxes. There were a whole bunch of lies coming out, and unfortunately, people started to believe them. And it was sort of like, oh, well, what are you going to do? Well, I don't want to tell you that now because I'm giving away all my secrets. He doesn't have any secrets. Every time there was a debate, he tried to do bullying moves. And I think enough is enough. We need to start to be aware of what's going on and maybe start asking your candidates. In Canada, we have a different political system, but start asking our candidates, what are you going to do? And ask certain questions about it. don't start going into this Hillary and oh, the president is not an American, or what good does that do? Oh, yes, it got you elected. Well, enough is enough. We need to ensure that you guys come together as one country. And right now, it doesn't look that way. People are still going after people, and having people, the Republicans to win, brought out the FBI to write this letter, and then, what, 2 days before the election ends, said, oh, there was nothing there. Of course there wasn't anything there, because there wasn't anything there to begin with. Now, Trump is the president-elect. I don't know, on December 19th, I think that's when their electoral college meets, if they come out and vote for him. I think we really have to hope that, they don't, because Hillary did win the popular vote. It was very close, but Hillary did win it. And, that's the system they have. Maybe it's time to look at changing the system. But, the two parties have been in power for so long, and, they're just going to keep on arguing over this. But, I think the people need to have the electoral vote based on how many. God, it looks like I'm asleep. I'm awake. How many percentage of the popular vote they got in your area. If you have 10 electoral votes and someone comes out with 60 points or 60 percentage, then 6 out of the 10 would vote for Hillary and of the Electoral College. The way it is now, it seems vitally unfair that people will constantly go and undermine people and backstabbing. People say, well, that's politics. And you know what? I'm sick of that on the Canadian side, and I'm sick of that on the American side. All through the summer, it was backstabbing this, backstabbing that. And it's continuing amongst the people because the president did it. It's now become accepted actions amongst the others. And you know what? It's got to stop. Something to think about. The Canadian elections in 3 years, I think. Okay, now, there were, in the last couple of days, 2 stabbings in Vancouver, in East Vancouver area. And one was an armed robbery. And from what I understand, this was the Canadian Tire, and we talked about this yesterday, but new information has come out. This person took an 82-year-old man hostage, and, I think, what are knives the new weapon? People seem to think, well, we got rid of guns, why not get rid of other weapons off the street? Knives are so easy to make. Now, the guy in the Canadian Tire was known to police, and he was shot and killed. Now, immediately we start to question, were the police right in using armed force? Well, a person was in danger, and this guy just kept going towards, and he stabbed one employee, and he multiple stabbed a police officer. And you know what? He, he's doing that much damage. He wouldn't combat. There's one security expert that said, why did they go in sooner? But the guy was there to steal, and they believe he was there to steal guns. I don't know how much that is true, but I didn't know Canadian Tire sold guns, but I guess they do have a hunting department. But was it too much violence on the police? Well, let me put it this way. 2 people are stabbed. 2 people are now in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Was it too much force? No, this guy was also known to the police of his actions. Now, they weren't exactly sure what the intent was for. However, this guy wanted the guns, and he went in there and he wasn't going to pay for them. And my heart goes out to the employees. I've worked in retail for years, and there's always someone around who wants to do harm and doesn't really care what they do, just as long as they get what they want. Now, for years, 7-Elevens were being hit over cigarettes. And, they started locking them up when they got delivered. They went right into the case and locked up because, everyone knew what day the delivery is. They saw their delivery and they would attack the store. So, people who want to do armed robberies, if the police can't take care of their actions, then what course do we have? Oh, just let them come in and rob us, I think we have to allow our police to do their job. Now, supposedly there's a thing where the police carry bullets and guns separately, and they have to announce that they're loading up their guns. Well, it worked this time, but what's going to happen next? If we sit there and keep saying, oh, were the police justified? And, I'm sure, the Black Lives Matter movement will come in and say, oh, this guy wasn't, he should be. But they said they found something in his home. So, what did they find? No one really knows what they found, but I think this is just the top of the whole investigation. I think we'll learn more as this comes along, but we all think, oh, Canada, we're nice and safe, and then something like this happens. Now, the second one, Global didn't really have too much on it. Just that a guy was in the hospital, with injuries because he was stabbed at a pizza place. But, an awful lot of people are having guns and willing to use them to get whatever they want. Now, are we going to have like little windows where you go? Well, they do this at gas stations. You go and you pay through the window or you put it through a slot and it's all bulletproof glass. If you want a bottle of pop, you have to say, I want a bottle of pop this size. You can't go in and look. And that's what we're turning to. During the evenings, it's crazy out there. But people keep, going there and wanting 24-hour stores. Now, I did many years of graveyard. And, the 7-Elevens were always great. If you got hungry in the middle of the night, you could go get your Slurpee or your pop or your coffee. But I think enough is enough when people are willing to take lives. This guy in the Canadian Tire was willing to go whatever he wanted to. Now, so are we going to try to be, a big American city and have people get stabbed because they're trying to go to work and get a job? I think enough is enough, that we as individuals need to speak up and don't allow this to happen. If somebody wants to do a terrorist act, nothing really is going to stop them until, they planned it all out. And, they want their 15 minutes of fame for whatever group they're with. But it's a waste of human life. Now, this gentleman has passed away, and they've searched his house, and like I said, they found certain things there, but if he's known to police, should we not observe them? Should we not have, a CSIS or a Mountie squad take a look at these people? Now, I'm not saying, we'll do it like Trump, and Trump wants this and Trump wants that. I think that's not correct, but I think people who are known and have tried things before, maybe we need to watch them a little bit closer. But, we are protected by the Canadian Constitution. And, but there's got to be a way that we can look at people and say, you've been at terrorist activities and so on. Well, I don't want anything to happen. But who really does? There's been terrorist attacks in BC. There was someone who supposedly, and they've been adjudicated and it's closed, that they weren't doing it, but they were supposedly wanting to blow up the BC legislature on Canada Day. But the police didn't gather the correct information, or they were released. But are we just going to turn into bitter Americans and say, let's execute them all, and let's all just carry guns, and the only way to protect a bad person is to carry a gun and have a good person behind it. So everyone needs guns. Everyone doesn't need guns. The majority of the world doesn't have guns. Everyone has guns. But, we looked at what can be done with knives. We have to find a way to protect our country Forget about the other countries in the world. We need to keep Canada safe. And we need to come up with a plan. It's something that you need to discuss and come up and ask your elected officials. But, what are we going to do? Something to think about. Okay. California is another state to elect to legalize marijuana. And, you know, we say, that, oh, yes, we brought in all this anti smoking stuff and teens won't get into it. And, oh, yes, we can't sell to teens. But then there's a number of adults who keep thinking about, oh, well, yes, it should be a legal right. They should be able to smoke if they want to. And now we have pot opening up, and now what's the next thing? Going to be cocaine? And then all of a sudden, all the drugs we want whenever we want it. But I think we need to, before we all jump in and legalize everything, what's the plan? Vancouver, was it last year, went through and started to close down some pot shops because they didn't have licenses, and oh yes, they're going to fight it and whatever. Pot, people keep saying pot isn't addictive. Well, cigarettes smoke what you're putting in. It is addictive, and people keep smoking it all the time. And oh, it relieves pain for people, medical purposes, which is fine. But going around, there are people who, don't want to go out and smell it every 5 minutes because cigarette smoke, marijuana, they all have a pungent smell. And, oh, it's what the country wants. Well, just because the country wants it doesn't mean that it's correct. And I think we need to ensure that, now everyone in California is out to get pot legal. And, they say, oh, well, we won't sell it to children. And I think it's in Canada, we have like 500 meters away from a school or some number. Don't quote me exactly on that. But we have so much problems with drugs and alcohol and cigarettes right now. Why are we legalizing another one? Because people want to have the choice? Well, I'm sorry. I think people need to be able to function without so much. People who need it for medical reasons, we're not talking that right now. We are talking about people who just want to smoke it and get high and get all the effects of being high over it. But you know what? I don't know if we need to always get high. We're always looking like kids. We have problems with kids stealing medications from their parents because it may get them high. So, Canada, we're waiting for the Prime Minister to have his party legalize pot. And, right now it's for medical reasons. And we have a whole bunch of pot shops in Vancouver. They closed down a number of them, but we still have a whole bunch of pot shops where you can see a doctor and get a medical reason and get a prescription for it right there. It's a way they're circumnavigating the law. But people want it, so I guess we'll eventually have it. But look how difficult it has been controlling the cigarette laws. People will be lighting up and will have to smell it. There are people who physically get sick from the smell, and I am one of them. But I want to make sure that kids coming up won't feel that they need to try it. Oh, come on, everyone does it. I think I've told this story before where I was with 7-Eleven for years, and I had a trainee come in, and that's the line he used. Oh, well, you should really try it. Everyone's doing it. And he came back from lunch totally out of it. He couldn't even complete the course. And he got totally upset with me that, I suggested that he go speak to his manager, which was another way of saying, he was terminated. But we need to ensure that young people, and everyone says, well, okay, you raise the age to 21, and then, everyone just lines up and gets it because everyone does it. But, we hear of everyone who does it and people who want it. Maybe we should take a look more at those who don't do it. And, there is probably a silent majority. They come out in Vancouver and do a smoke out. It used to be on the steps of the old courthouse in Vancouver. Now, last year they had it at Sunset Beach. And there is an awful lot of protest about that. So there's one side that says, well, they should have their right to choose, and then there's the other side that doesn't like the smell and doesn't want it around their place or doesn't want it around their children. It's not like the smoke that comes out of the joint stays in one place. It constantly moves around. And so what are we going to do? We're going to have people who are high and that smell, and we're going to get people into cars that are going to drive intoxicated. Yes, we got down, people are still charging drunk driving, but they don't realize that the same rules apply for pot. Maybe there should be a pot club, but then people will drive there, and I don't think that we're ready for this. Legalize pot. Well, then what? Legalize psychedelic drugs? Psychedelic drugs aren't addictive, but I still think that pot is a leeway into more drugs. I think the high you get off pot you do feel after a while, oh, it's not that great, and so you want to try other drugs. I think I don't think we need to keep, oh well, yes, people want this, and you know, there's people who smoke who don't want pot, so if they go to a hotel, oh well, you can't. I want a cigarette smoking room, but not a pot smoking room. There's already that much trouble with regular regular rooms of smoking or non-smoking. But you know, even a hospital, and a hospital where people are usually in there for many reasons, and one or two can be associated with smoking. But yet they get out of their beds every day and they make it down so they can smoke. And lately, it's when I was in there, I was in Royal Columbian for 9 months. And while I was there, I don't like the glasses showing on my eyes. The doctor I had was right across the street, and I had to go there and meet with her at her office. And there were a number of times had to walk through the cloud of cigarette and pot. And, there's signs up that say no smoking on the hospital grounds. You know, yes, it's addictive. But you're going in a place and you're trying to get better, but oh no, I still have to smoke. And look how expensive smoking is. And then you have these pot shops that are going to be opening up. And, they go in there and there was just one in Vancouver where people went in there and they stole money and they stole their supplies. So, what's the happy medium here? Do we expand all the drinking and all the cigarette smoking legislation so that we won't have all this going on? I think we've got to be more prepared before they just say, okay, it's legal now. There's more to this than just saying, okay, here it is, you can have it. So it's something just to think about. Okay, so it's, closing time. And, I think the world's just getting crazier by the minute. We don't have people who vote for people on policy. It's just saying that they're great and they're going to make the U.S. great. We have stabbing people, and we have people who want pot all around all the time and not be prosecuted for it. There's a number of pot out there right now. I can't go around my own neighborhood without smelling it. And, these people don't want to smell it at home because family members don't like them doing it or don't want them to do it. And, it's going to be a tough decision. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.